Hi, it's Ray from ProShaper Workshop in Charlton, Massachusetts. We're working on the AI Alfa Romeo. This is all we got done so far. This is all the real preliminary steps. We put Joe Adjustable in. I made him about 20 years ago. He's got all wing nuts that you can tighten up and you can adjust them every which way. But it's all got to be human scale. We'll take in... we don't have the ability to put the actual Alfa motor over here. Number one, it's so heavy. But I can make a little cardboard template profile of the Alfa motor. I can measure it up really quickly, make a little template. I'll cut it out on the bandsaw. I can set that in place. But what I want to do in this video is all of these wires are still temporary. This might go down 4 inches. This windshield can change the angle. All that stuff is all adjustable. We're not going to set anything in stone until we get more context. And how are we going to get that context? Number one, we got to come up with a design for the back here because the picture really doesn't show it. We'll make a preliminary back line, and we'll have the total length to go by. We'll have the height, give or take 2 or 3 inches, and we'll do a preliminary line for the front. But what I want to try to do on this one, this series of the video, or this segment of the video, is make this fender line and put that fender line in its proper place out here, and also the wheel opening lines, and maybe the rocker line, connect those together. And those all have to be a little bit of adjustable too. They're going to be adjustable in and out because we got to set our track width and we got to set our height. Ride height is generally about 5 inches or so, but you can go a little lower. But the lower you go, unless you got airbag suspension or something, you're going to be hitting curbs or something that's going to cause damage. So you got to always pay attention to that. I'm going to bend up a few wires. It's a pretty simple process. We just got the 1/4 inch hot roll wire right here. I'm going to bend it over my knee. So I'm going to do this fender line first. And Mark might get some of it on camera. I don't know. And it comes around. It goes up. It's a little hump right here. And then it goes back down. And then we got another hump here. We'll try to make that fender line. Let's see, this could be maybe one piece the whole way there, and then this would be another piece, and then another piece doing the return, and maybe another piece under here for the return under here. We get that in position, and we can kind of hold it up with the 1/4 inch wire. We can make that adjustable, and we put the white cardboard behind here so you can see really good. So next I'm going to start bending that wire. I got to find out where this is going to be. This spot is pretty good. So I'm going to put some tape on the floor there showing us that's where it's set. And then I need to know the track width. And this is going to be centered over the tire. So off the center so much. Okay, so I cut the wire that I'm going to use for the fender line to the front fender. I started preliminary bending it. I overdid it a little bit. Again, that's not a big disaster, so you're just going to straighten it out a little bit. And what I need to do is we're going to go by the GTV6 track width, and I got to find out what that track width is. We have it on the paper over there. We'll measure off the center line. And we'll put some tape over here on the floor, magic marker lines and tape. And then we have to put this in position. And we're not going to build an elaborate center line piece here to hold this. So we'll just use some 1/4 inch wire. And we'll make a little X with the wire to as a leg support, foot and leg support system. Come up with a straight wire. And then we'll be able to grab it with the clamps. And all we need is probably 2 or 3 of those uprights. And that will hold this in space right where it needs to be. So that's a necessary evil, is to make those little support systems. I could come off of here, and I was thinking of doing that before with a support system, but that's more expensive. I got to spend the money for that nice tubing and cut it all up. This is just a simple $3.06 hot roll, quarter-inch hot roll piece. So I got to make 3 supports. I'll need 1 or 2, probably 2 for each wheel well opening. But if we get these made, and we get that wire in the back made, you're going to start seeing the car. It just, boop, it appears out of nothing. So we're going to make those supports right now. All right, we made a few of these little upright stands with the quarter-inch wire. Just bent a little bit, so we got a nice 4-point that we can bend down to get any wobble out of them. We got them coming up pretty vertical. And we can position these anywhere we want. And this is the beginning of the fender wire. And I'm going to clamp this on here, and hopefully it all stays together. And I might be able to also put the wheel openings on these too. So we might need a couple more for the back. So we have something there. We'll do a preliminary wire for the front, so we'll have something there. And the eye is the judge here, the ultimate judge. So I put this up, and we'll have maybe a half an hour or 45 minutes for this video today. And we'll have these preliminary wires. And the greatest thing is living with these a little bit, because then your eye starts to become a real strong critic. And we know that these are not where they're supposed to be, but your eye will look at this as I'm doing other jobs in the shop. And there's a great story I remember reading about William Lyons, the founder of Jaguar. And he had a design department, but he was the ultimate final arbiter of what was going to get produced. And he would have his design department design up the new Jaguar, and then he would have a prototype department make up a model of the design that the stylist had come up with. And they would make one side one way and the other side a little bit different. And it was just a static model. There was no motor in it or anything. There might have been shaped panels that were painted. I don't know exactly what they did. But it looked like a real car. It had wheels and everything. And he would tow it to his house where he lived. And he had like a little L in his driveway. And he would park that in the L section of his driveway. And he would leave in the morning, and he would come home at night. And he would look at that car, and he'd be thinking about it, and he'd know what the problem was. And he would tell that he had to lower this line a half an inch, raise this line a quarter of an inch. And that's how some of the Jaguars were ultimately styled until Malcolm Sayer came along, and he was responsible for the E-type and the C-type and the D-type and even the XJ13. So, but William Lyons had a really big imprint on early Jaguar styling. All right, we made 5 upright stands now. They're really kind of stable. It's not bad at all. They wiggle a little, but that's okay. And we've got the preliminary wire in for the top of the fender. We still have the back fender that's going to have to go in. And next, the most important part will be the wheel well openings. So we got to factor what size wheel we're going to put in here. And to me, it looks like at least a 15-inch wheel. It might be a 16, I don't know. The GTV6 had 14, I believe. They're metric size, but I'd say about 14. And I think the 15 will have a little more muscle look to it, and I think that'll be better. Now, we do have some wire wheels that I picked up, and I'm maybe going to try to use those as just mock-up wheels, and that'll give us a really nice look to work with. So the next step will be, I got the wire already, I got to bend this front wheel well opening, and I said I'd probably do that in 4 sections and weld them together. So we'll get that one done, and then the back one done. We set these off at 27 inches because that's half the track width. The beauty of this system is, people say there's no human interaction when you get all this AI stuff. Here's the human interaction. We don't have a CAD program. Maybe 2 years from now, maybe a year, the AI stuff will kick out a CAD program. But that doesn't mean you have to be a slave to this design. You can have the freedom to design it any way you want, so it becomes your vision of what you want. And that's what we're going to try to do here. We're going to try to make it as good as what the picture looks like or better, because we're not in a race here. There's no deadlines. This doesn't have to be done next month. So take your time, and that's the fun of it. So we'll get those wheel openings done, and then we'll go on to the next step. I had Mark dig out some tires from the back of the shop. We got 3 different sizes here. This was the original Alfa on the GTV6. It's a metric size. It's about 14-inch, I believe, though. I didn't measure it. And this is a Volkswagen wheel tire here combo. And this tire is a little bit taller than the GTV6. And this one, I don't know where this one came from or what it is. It might be a 16, I'm not sure, but it has a good OD size. So I'm going to make the wheel well opening to fit this one. We'll put that in, and we'll see what that looks like. I'll use a roller to get this into play. We can bend it with our little 2-pin bender, but we're using a roller on this one. There's one. Tools. That's that. All right, this is the first out of the roller. It's pretty close. I'll close it up just a little bit manually here. So all I got to do is just tweak it a little bit, and we'll get it really nice. Got to do that for both of them. And before I do that, we've got to figure out exactly where that's going to go. And say it goes about here. We did half of this videoing yesterday, which was Monday. Today is Tuesday. The video hopefully is going to go up Wednesday. And these are all preliminary wires. And the great thing about this is everybody that looks at it said, oh, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's... And the audience is going to be saying that too. That's all part of the plan. So we're going to adjust the wires. We have the windshield way too forward. We have the back end way too long. We don't have the curve here right. This is the top piece of the fender, and we got to get that apex of the curve right at the right spot. And we got to put the rear fender curve in. So I want to do that probably now. I'll get the wire for that, and the more wires you put in, you see the relationships between them, and just observing them tells you what is wrong and what needs to happen. Your eye will dictate to you exactly the course that you need to be on. All right, we cut a piece of the 1/4-inch wire for the rear fender line, and we put the little bender in here, so we have the bender for the fender. So let me take a look-see over there again. I got to see what it looks like. Okay, it comes up pretty quick. Now, what we're going to do is this line here is probably about halfway. That's your top of your front fender line. That's halfway over the wheel. And it'll be the same here. So we've got a nice line here where it's meeting the roof line, but we're not going to be using that line because we're going to have a singular line that will go all the way. It'll be about halfway in that fender, right where I'm pointing with the rod right there. And it's going to be a guesstimate. So we'll bend this up a little bit. We will be wrong. Be assured that you will be wrong. But nothingness doesn't teach you anything. You got to have somethingness in order to know what you did wrong. So we'll transform this wire, which was flat, to what we think it's supposed to be. And then our eye will tell us that we're not on the money yet. So let's put that over there. It's got to be about right here somewhere. And you got to make sure that you don't put a compound in there. See, that's a little bit of a compound there. You want this laying flat. So that's easy to fix. You can put it in the vise and just give it a little whack with a hammer. But try to maintain one plane as you're bending this. All right, this fender is going over this wheel. So we have the wheel to show us what we're at, where we're at. Take a little bit out there. Not to look too bad. Now we got to get this compound out. The floor is pretty flat in here. We're going to use these little 2x4s to straighten that out. So we'll put one 2x4 on the end over here, and one 2x4 over here, and we'll give it a little whack right there. Let's see what that says. That's better. All right, here's my rocking point. All right, that's close enough. So we need some clamps. So I probably have that too high. I got to make the returns that go underneath where the rocker is. Let's see how I can clamp that on there. Yeah, that'll clamp right on there nicely. All right. Last night, we put the 74-inch wheelbase mark in with this tape. So we've got to get that right. If I put this here, this technically should be centered over that 74-inch wheelbase line. So it looks like if I put this over here, I'm going to have to adjust that line back there. I can bring this whole assembly this way, but I think I'm going to put this, I'm going to put it right about here. Now, if you were using a CAD program to build these lines or design this, you could, like in SolidWorks or some of the other ones like Rhino, you could import the picture and then copy a lot of the curves with the lines and everything. You can create the shape that way. There's going to be a lot of exactly what I'm doing here. But this is intuitive. It's really simple. I've never mastered a CAD program. I don't think I'll be 73 in a week or so. So I don't think I'm going to be taking any intensive CAD lessons to learn CAD because it takes a long time to get really proficient at it. I've played around with it, and I've just made no headway with it whatsoever. There's Fusion 360, I guess. I haven't even played with that. And maybe somebody can have luck with that. But I love this process, and I think if you give this process a try, you'll be really impressed. It's essentially the same thing. You're creating all the lines by eye. You know, on CAD, you're essentially pulling and pushing the lines and getting them in place, but you do have the aid of the original drawing. You can copy some of the lines, but there's not much to copy in this. We got a low three-quarter view of what we're doing. So we'll have to just keep evolving the design. We'll try to get the results that we want that way. Yeah. I'm going to try to carefully pull this assembly forward to try to get these wheel openings more in line with the 74-inch. These were kind of arbitrary lines I thought where the center of the wheel, the 74-inch wheelbase would be. I could be off 3 or 4 inches either way. So carefully try to move this whole assembly. Oh! That doesn't happen in CAD. My line fell. All right, so we put the tire in place, and it becomes obvious that I'm way too high, so I'm going to lower that down a little bit. Now we got the tire in there. This line is way too high, so I think I had the line here before, so it was pretty close before. So let's bring that down some more. Now we're using these clamps, which are not really super effective at holding the wire. So once we get them closer, we might resort to using a little duct tape on them. My favorite is Gorilla Tape. It really holds good. Might be doing that. Now, let's adjust the windshield back, and we'll see what that looks like. The roof line and the windshield line are better. Again, not perfect, but it's closing in. And what jumps out at me right now is I still need to enhance this line a little bit right here. This line I'm not happy with, and I'm not happy with that line as well. There's more roll and more radius in that line right there. I've got it a little too flat, and we got to add a more hump right here, more radius. Right about here is supposed to be the peak. So I got to pump that up a little bit. And it's possible this needs to come down a little bit more. Let's see. Not too much, just a little bit. So that's what we'll do now is we'll bend those wires up and we'll put them back up and we'll see what they look like. All right, so I took the front fender line that goes all the way back to the rear fender off. I've got it marked where it intersects with the uprights. And I want to change the curve, but I want to document the curve I got. So I got this big giant piece of cardboard, and I'm going to trace that line in, and that way they'll be able to watch my progress as I adjust this line. I'll have a written document here showing where I was and where I'm going. Okay, so I'm going to bend that line in here a little stronger. Take a little bit out and then compare that what we had. Okay, so I added about an inch of height there on that line. Put that back on. I don't need your help here. On the front of the wire there.
I keep it at the same spots?
Yeah. All right, we raised that wire just 1 inch. It's looking a little better. Most of the bending was from here to here, just to crown that a little more. And now I want to, and again, we might have to do it again, but right now I want to pump this one up and relocate that one a little bit. So I need more bend right in this front third of the wire or so. So I'm going to mark it with the tape. We'll do the same procedure. We'll put the existing line on the cardboard and be able to document how much of a change we actually made.
So this is the actual center line through the hood, and we're going to pump it up. I marked it right there. That's where it's similar to that. I need to pump it up right there.
Now, if you don't have patience, do not do this, because you have to be patient. You have to let the process unfold, and as it unfolds, it reveals. As it reveals, you get the satisfaction.
So that added about, I'd say 2 3/4 of an inch
of curve to that line, and I think it needs a little more. I'm really flat right in this back section, so I'm going to add a little bit in here too. Not much. This is the lever. That's my knee is the fulcrum here. Okay, so now I got a totally different line. And I didn't document the second line. This is number 1, hood center line. We got that wire adjusted. We documented it. We'll call that number 2. I forgot to document the revision of the fender, top of the fender line. So Mark and I will put this back on with the clamps. He'll give me a little hand, and we'll see what we got. If we lower the roof line, I think that's going to help us a bunch. So we got to lower that roof line, and then shortening the windshield up at the same time. We made 2 stands for Mr. Adjustable, because he was up against the center frame, the center line. We brought him out more where in a realistic position. So he's right there. Now I want to put the wheels in. So I'm going to, this is the 5-inch bottom line of the body, the ground clearance line. I'm going to cut that out and put a temporary little MIG weld, which we can break if we have to. I got to set the wheel openings at 94.5 inch. This one's got to be adjusted a little bit. But I'm going to cut that one out and that one out so we can set the wheels in place. We're going to do that next. All right, I cut the ground clearance rod, allowed me to put the wheel in position. And then this is the wheel opening. I kind of spaced that even. This one we made in the roller. And this actually needs to be out here somewhere. And then there'll be a curve coming up to this fender line. But if you look at this, if this is the wheel opening, the outer position, if you look at this relationship right here, we have too much distance here compared to the picture. So this looks like it's going to have to come down a little bit. But before I do that, I'm going to try to adjust the back a little bit more, bring this back down to match the front. And we'll do that now. All right, we copied the wheel opening line, same as the front. It's 27.5 inches to the top of this. And that just gives us the visual. Obviously, that fender, the rear fender, is bad now. We got to play around with that wire. Looking from the far view, getting a good 10-foot view or so, I'm beginning to wonder whether we might have to lengthen the wheelbase a little bit. It looks a little short, but I'm not going to make that decision yet until I put some door lines in and see what the proportions look like. So that's what I'm going to do next. Actually, I need to put the door line in. I can put this in preliminary. So to go way down. I redid the rear fender line. It's still not perfect, but I adjusted a little bit to get a little bit better view now. But I think I'm going to orient myself towards the front here. I'm not happy with this. This needs a little more crown in it. But it's difficult to crown that big long wire and disrupt the whole system. So I'm going to make a small modular section, and then I can do an A-B comparison by doing that. I need a lot of stuff, which will be coming up in later videos, where we put the actual wheel well opening wire in, and we're going to have one coming like this to hang that off of this wire. But I got to get, this is a primary wire, I got to get that right first. And I also got to get the door front edge and the door back edge in so I can see the proportions. If the proportions don't look right, I might have to move the wheelbase maybe 4 to 6 inches. So we're at 94.5. We might have to go to 98 or maybe 100 inches. But I'm going to keep picking away. I'm going to try to get this front fender a little bit better. All right, we played around a little bit with this front fender line. I put a new section in here. We're probably going to do it over again, but now my preliminary line I've cut out, and I put in my second version of my line, which is not perfect, but I think it's closer. And I think I'll make a new one using that as a guide. And I like to drop the slope here. And the next time we do, this is segment 5. The next time we do segment 6, I have some 15-inch wire chrome wheels, and we'll mount them up on some junk tires or whatever. We'll have both wire wheels in place with tires. That'll help the visual out quite a bit. And we decided that, we got a consensus here. Everybody agreed that we had to lengthen the wheelbase. So we lengthened it to 100 inches. This is the 94.5 here, and that's 100. So we moved the wheel opening back a little bit. I lowered this fender. The next thing I'm going to do, and then we'll probably end the video, is we're going to reposition that windshield so it makes that long hood and lower the roof a little bit. And I think it'll start to be looking really good. And the next time, episode 6, we'll refine these lines a little bit more. And then we'll start putting some of these secondary fill lines in, which I'd mentioned before. I want to get the door lines, opening and closing door lines in the bottom closing door line. And those will add the actual 3D shape to it, too. So that'll be a big improvement. Right now, we're going to lower the roof and move the windshield back. All right, I like the way that looks now. We did a whole bunch of little adjustments. Moved the windshield back. We put more rake in the windshield. We brought the roof down. All of these lines are still all temporary lines. We're going to refine them even more. But it's really starting to look sporty now. And as we live with it for the next couple of days, we'll see the problems, and we'll make mental note of it, and we'll make the changes in episode 6. So episode 6, we're going to have the wire wheels in, and that'll be a big improvement. We're at a 100-inch wheelbase. We'll refine some of these wires more, and we'll start adding some of the secondary wires maybe. And I think all the relationships are getting real close. When we put these door lines, we'll be able to see the proportional relationships from the picture to the wireform. So I hope you enjoyed the video. It's Ray from Pro Shaper Workshop in Charlton, Massachusetts. Tell all your friends about the video channel, and please share it, and please subscribe. Thanks for watching.